All right. We want to welcome all of you, whether you're graduating senior or early in your career exploration, to the Cap Gown and Career Success series. And today we're going to be focusing on job application materials and presenting oneself. We're super excited to share this information with you to help you on your career and life journey. And before we get started, we'd like to introduce ourselves. So, Mike, take it away.
Well, thanks so much, Marcy. Glad to be here. My name is Mike Strohmeyer. I'm one of the associate directors here at the Career Center at UC San Diego. My area is arts and humanities, and I'll turn it right back to you, Marcy. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm also an associate director. My primary focus is helping students who are applying to graduate and professional school. And I also am an alum. I have my master's from the School of Global Policy and Strategy. So go Tritons. Lorena.
Yes, quick introduction. My name is Lorena Quiroz, and I'm also an associate director here at the Career Center, focusing on physical sciences, as well as other areas. But that's my area. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorena. All right. So today, as I mentioned, we'll be covering job application materials and presenting oneself. And we know that the job search process can be overwhelming, and we want to do whatever we can to make it easier for you. So today we're going to be walking through self-exploration and reflection, presenting yourself in job application materials and job interviews. We want to share with you the support that we have available for you in the Career Center. And then we will be having Q&A throughout. So Lorena, who just introduced herself, is going to be answering questions in the chat. So feel free to drop your question in there if you have one. And we also will have time at the end to answer your questions as well. And for whatever reason, if we don't get to them, we're always here in the Career Center to answer your questions as well. And we'll go through that a little bit more about how you can meet with us. So before we drop into like the main part of the presentation, we want to take a little time to get to know who's here on this call with us today. And for some of you may already know what your dream career is. And if so, please drop it in the chat. And if you don't know, but you know things that you're passionate about, we would love to hear what those are. So, Mike, are you seeing anything in the chat?
Let's see here. I'm not seeing anything just this second. Maybe some folks will post some things here. Oh, here we go. Microbiology, lab and research, FAB engineer, process engineer, architect. We got some great stuff here, Marcy. This is outstanding.
Lawyer, product, UX design, registered nurse. Wow, we have got good representation
No
around
kidding.
CSD, data science, and biomedicine. Excellent. Wow, I'm so glad to have so many pre-med, physician. Excellent. Wow, how great. Thank you all so much. Well, we're here to help you whether you're 100% clear or still getting clear. So, um, I wanted to move over to the main part of the presentation. And we wanted to start with really the first step. Some of you, like I said, that wrote in the chat may have 100% clarity right now, but it's always good to take that time for self-reflection and discovery. And if you haven't done this, take a step back and take time to do this. And we realize that you may not get all your answers here today, but at least to plant the seed for some of these questions. So the more that you have clarity on these questions, it's easier to create a career in life that you're passionate about. And then from this also you can best develop your job search strategy. So getting really clear on what are your core values, basically what is important to you. Is it helping the world? Is it having freedom and flexibility with your job? Do you want to earn a lot of money to have a certain lifestyle or for whatever other reasons? And then thinking about what are some skills and experiences that you're proud of. Knowing this can really help you determine what areas you want to work in, both industry-wise and also the roles you want to look at. What are you passionate about? How do these passions develop? Very importantly, you spend a lot of time at work. Oh, Mike, we're at the other slide, the back. Yeah. What are you passionate about? How do these passions develop? So this is so important. As you all know, we spend a lot of time at work, so it's really important to do something that you enjoy. And then thinking about like what your goals are and for yourself, both professional and personal. I see a lot of times people end up in careers that maybe they enjoy the work, but it's not working for them, like in terms of how they want to live their lives. Maybe they're in the office 24/7 and that's just they want to be actually in nature more. So whatever that is for you, just making sure that you're picking a career that really matches your goals in both areas. And then what type of experiences is it that you want to have? For some people, they want a job where they can travel all the time, right? It's like that would be fun. And I want to go live in other countries and do my work there. And I want to find a company that allows me to do that. Some people really have like a specific path of growth that they want to be in, and they want to be with a company that's really going to support that. There's just two examples, but just thinking about really what that is for you and reflecting on that. So, Mike will go over to the Ikigai slide now. And before we start, it's interesting. I bring this up in a lot of advising appointments, and I know Mike and Lorena probably do as well. And I know a lot of people don't know what this is that I meet with, but I'm just curious if anyone in the audience today, do you know which country that this comes from? And if so, please drop it in the chat. And also, do you know what Ikigai means? Mike, what are you seeing? Anything?
I'm looking right now. Aha!
Aha!
Person's
Ding, ding,
got it.
ding. Correct. Jamie, thanks for that. Yes, Ikigai is a Japanese philosophy. It basically translates into a reason for being. And this is a great visual to understand how what Ikigai incorporates. And sometimes it takes time to develop this, and you may only have pieces of it, and you just allow it to evolve. And then maybe more experiences you have, it continues to get updated or even changes. So for example, your ikigai or your reason for being could be that you want to help others, could be an example. And then thinking about what you love, maybe the others that you like to help are specifically helping animals. And for example, maybe this could be connected to something like wildlife conservation. And then what are you good at? Maybe you are great at biology and you realize that you want to focus on biology to help with wildlife conservation. Then you ask yourself, what does the world need? And then I'm just giving this particular case so you can kind of walk through an example. Maybe the world needs more research to save habitats for certain animals, and then you can do research and can contribute to this area. What can you get paid for? This is also really important. And this role, maybe you could do it in several different ways. Maybe it could be working in academic research, or maybe doing research with a conservation organization as well. So just really taking time for this. This has really helped a lot of people that I've worked with at least give some direction of what they want to focus on. So thanks so much for listening. Now it's Mike's turn, and he's going to go over job application materials and interviewing.
Well, thank you very much, Marcy. Outstanding as always. Some really great insights, some topics, some things to kind of really dive into and reflect on. What a great way to start our topic and the discovery tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about presenting yourself with job application materials and interviewing in this next portion here. And to do this, we want to look at a couple things here. So if you can imagine this, you have a target. Wait a minute, maybe you don't have a target. You have to identify it. That's kind of the piece of the puzzle here, really. What is the target that you have? If you don't have one, you got to find one. And it's very difficult oftentimes to find what you need without trying something and having a goal. So we want you to do this specific job function or area that you're looking for, which is going to be targeting within your resume. And then we'll talk about this as a list of companies, a very kind of strategic way to do this. And so the next slide here is going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to use the LAMP method. And the LAMP method is an excellent way to kind of organize your search and your strategy in a way that helps you to kind of focus what it is. So first, the L in LAMP is a list. So you're going to create a list of at least 40 potential employers that align with your career goals. Just 40 is a nice starting number. It could be more than that, but we don't want to have less than that. The number is important to have a good, wholesome number. A is the alumni and advocates. So these alumni, former colleagues, contacts that you have at the companies that serve as advocates provide real big insights into the company, into what they do, into the job, all sorts of things. And they can help you in other ways as an advocate. The next part of LAMP is the motivation. This M stands for kind of a rank that you have. So you've got all these different organizations that you're looking for, these companies, and you're saying, well, based on a scale like 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 3, whatever it is, you list that in the list that you see below in column three, in column C, and you see that motivation drives which one is more important for you in this search that you're doing. What's the first things first that you want to do? And then finally, we do postings. So you check to see if these companies have a posting right now and see if you can put all these things together to line up to find something that you can search for, jump on, target, and get ideally an opportunity through this. Next, we want to talk about some other kinds of strategy in terms of job titles and things of this. Some folks are really looking at a national marketability. And what that means is that if you're thinking of going anywhere in the larger sense of the United States, for example, you want to know what that means for the job itself. So that means finding 5 to 10 ideal job leads from across the country and putting them together and seeing what kind of skills they're looking for, what are the traits and similar kinds of things. So you can say, I have that, and if I don't have that, then what do I need to do to get that? And so you package this together, and then all of a sudden you've got this amazing strategy that's built into a national marketability. Now, you can do the same thing on a regional or a local level too, and those are really this is all part of the strategy to get to where you want to be, and a very really a good way about it too. All right, next is the customization. Now, you may have heard this before, and like, Mike, come on, customize. I've heard it before. Yes, it is super important. When we talk about standing out, the customization piece is really critical for folks to in a couple of ways. One is for the resume itself to be customized to the job that you're applying for a person, but we also have what's called the ATS, or the applicant tracking system. And the ATS is something that goes and looks for keywords, skills, and things of that nature for your resume and other things in your cover letter. And so you want to have these things lined up for a person and for the ATS. So you have an audience of two different audiences essentially. So we think about who you're reaching out to. You have two different ones. And then you want to look at this every time. What is the specific job? Again, what are you targeting? Like, what are those things you're pulling from? Some folks say, "Oh, I'm just going to do 100,000 resumes and put them." I mean, not 100,000, but a lot of resumes and putting them out. And what happens is it doesn't get the same traction as you would have for ATS and for a person when it really when it rings true and it goes through this kind of thing. So we'll talk a little bit more about these things in a second. But first, we want to talk about the design. So those three things are there here that we talked about in design. First, we talked about the keywords, the resume, and the role. Yes, of course, but it also has to be easy and have quick access to the information. So it needs to be clear, crisp, understandable, well written, those kinds of things, so that the HR team can look at it after it passes the ATS and say, "Oh, you've got the stuff. This is great. You're awesome. We'd love to have you for the yes pile, and maybe they'll get you into for an interview." So that's kind of the thing that we want to do as well. And then skills. Skills are kind of like the new currency, and examples of your work that you've done showing as opposed to just telling are really critical too. Giving these examples, evidence that supports why you're the right person for the job are critical in all those aspects of what you're putting out for the people to see. So we talk about the design. Yeah, it's a couple of different elements. It's not just one thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about the kinds of design when we actually look at the resume in a second here. So here's an example of a resume that we have on our website. So it's career.ucsd.edu. And I want to point out a couple things. This is telling what to be on there. The circles, globes, there, spherical things. We're not really putting those out there for graphics that we want on the resume. We're looking just at the information and the way that it's set up and the things we just talked about in forms of skills, knowledge, ability that you have that you can talk to and speak to. So one of the things is using the APR method. So experience is a really critical portion for any resume, and you want to use this in such a way that you have an action that's a present tense for a present job, or a past tense for a past job. Simple as that. And it would be something like collaborate or collaborated with the largest 10 organizations on campus for the largest blood drive in UC San Diego history. Now that says a lot. It's the action and the project there, but the result needs to be added. Collaborated with the largest 10 organizations in UC San Diego history for the largest blood drive in UC San Diego history, resulting in 10,000 blood vials for the Rady Children's Hospital. Okay, yeah, I see where this is going. I see what you're doing. So the accomplishment-based resume, which has results or ROI or any sort of numbers and things that showcase these things, it doesn't always have to be the same wording. It just has to be something that focuses on the same kind of accomplishment. And so when you talk about API, this is a way for you to really bolster up your resume and showcase it in a strong way. Things like this, you'll see there's no no columns on here. There's no widgets or things like that. It's very direct and to the point in these regards. The summary is something that I want to point out, though, in terms of the ATS and looking out there for people as well. That's something you want to consider to have on your resume. And why? Because that is something you can pull from and change every single time in a dramatic way that applies to each specific job description that you're applying for. So think here, oh, I can plug those things in, I can pull them in and put them into the summary, and it's like bullet points, but there's no personal pronouns or things of that nature in there. It's just direct, like experienced in blank, blank, and blank, and it relates to the job. So these are some of the things that we want to talk about. We have examples here, and I want to mention that there's not one right way or one way to do a resume. There's many, many ways. The things we're talking about here are very important, kind of grander concepts that are helpful to you, guiding you in a way that you make the right resume for you and for the particular job that you're after, so you get the interview, right? All right, so we want to talk about some of the resume tips that we have here. Digestible qualifications. The summary and career profile, or whatever you use, should be having things like core competencies, key skills, should be easy to digest. Shouldn't be lofty. We're talking 2 to 4 sentences. It's very, very brief, okay? 2 pages are okay, but make it good. So this is a controversial topic sometimes. If you have a one-page resume and it's got everything you need on it, it does great, and that's awesome. If they ask for one page, use one page. If they don't mention it and you've got a lot of value-added information for 2 full pages, maybe you consider that, right? But a page and like spilling over to the second, probably not your best kind of approach to to doing the resume. So you want to work with us on that, and other people. We can help you to guide you along the way. And again, don't be artistic. That's not something we need to have for the resume. Some of those things actually hinder the ATS from going through in the process. Bullet points. I want to mention there's 2 different ways to do this. It's a Google or Tutor way, which is X, Y, and Z, which is the achieved through doing, or APR. And I personally like the APR because it starts out with an action verb and catches the reader right away. The achieved is the result. So it's the same thing, just back and forth. So choose whatever you like, but make sure whatever you choose, you stick it in the way that it's consistent on your resume, as opposed to one way and one the other way. So be consistent about the way you approach these things. And then, of course, active language, strong action verbs. Like, Mike, where do I get like more action verbs that are out there? I'm not really. Well, hold on. So you want to hop on and go to something as simple as a Google search and just do action verbs for a resume, and you'll find a lot of different kinds of things that are out there. Um, so that's an important thing to address. And then quantity and quantify and qualify. So when you put the numbers and things that are in there, that really helps. If you don't have them, that's okay. So we're going to go to the next page here. And this is a cover letter. So the cover letter is again the same style. We're not putting the graphics on there, but on our guidebook and our website career.ucsd.edu, it has this, and this is an example of what you're looking to do. You don't want to use a template. You don't want to rehash your resume. You don't want to state the obvious. And you want to do your research. You want to know maybe what their mission is. You kind of want to do this as almost like setting up what your thesis might be in the first beginning and then proving it in that subsequent paragraph or paragraphs that you have. Focus on what you can offer them, not what you want to get out of it. So you're there to offer them something and to get on their team. And then align the resume and cover letter fonts and even the style that you have in terms of the top. Again, the date is the date that you're sending it. And if you don't have a contact, you could always do dear hiring team, dear human resources, dear hiring manager, dear employer, but not to whom it may concern. So those are things to address. And you can, again, there's more than one way to do a cover letter, but the thing is, we don't want you to just have the same cover letter that you're sending and changing 2 words. It's about really making that effort to customize it for the people that you're sending it to, so they can really see it. And then the same thing applies to keywords and things that make sense. This is your story that you're talking about, and we talk about it here. If it's required, well, you got to do it. So you might as well do a great job when you're doing this. And so even if some of the dropping, some people are not doing it and someone requires it, take the time to do a great job. We talked about the addressing piece rather than to whom it may concern. Structure and style. Again, there's other ways to do it. You could do bullets and start off with a paragraph and do like things you're going to approve. But the most traditional way is paragraphs. And then again, you're telling a story. You don't want to repeat things in your resume. You're telling a story about yourself. A compelling thing that comes out of this is why they should hire you. Again, we talked about that. Why they should hire you. What are the things you have to offer, really? So, and then highlighting skills in there, and not just giving an skill, but giving an example, giving evidence again that supports why you're the right person for the job. Show the things, show it, and just don't just tell it. And then if it's copied or pasted, and it could be, well, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure it's it's personalized, tailored, and customized. One of the things before we kind of move into another section for Marcy here is I want to mention that this is a great look here. If you can think about this and you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Quality versus quantity. 50 great applications versus 500 average applications. So that's a really kind of thinking about the approach that you're taking here. All right. So I will pass it on to Marcy over here, and thank you very much for leading us into a next area on this presentation.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was such great information. Awesome job walking through all of that. So, all right, so now we're going to go over to presenting yourself in the interview, and Mike and I are kind of splitting this part up. So, moving on to the next slide. We wanted to talk about how important it is to practice. I know that it can get really nerve-wracking when you're thinking about an interview, and I practice with people that come in to visit all the time. And I think once you get more and more comfortable presenting your answers in mock interviewing sessions, it really helps a lot. So as they say, practice makes perfect. So the more you practice, even if it seems like it's like, oh my gosh, do I need to keep doing this? Yes, you need to keep doing it. So researching for common interview questions, becoming familiar with the questions and answers to main interview questions is really important. You can find this information like LinkedIn has it, some great examples. Indeed, big interview for some of you that might not have taken advantage of Career Center resources. I did want to point out that in Handshake, under the resource section, Big Interview is there and it's free for UCSD students, a great resource to practice for interviewing. The Muse also has great examples, and so does Glassdoor. And sometimes there are trick questions, right? And maybe if some of you have interviewed a lot and you've kind of figured out the secret to the trick questions, something like tell me about yourself, that we're going to do an example in a little bit. Is there's some magic, or not going to say magic, but a formula to that. And understanding the best way to answer these questions is so important. So again, practice, schedule, you can in Handshake, you can schedule appointments with an advisor. You can specifically choose a mock interview appointment and can practice with a career coach. Because there's one thing to write it down, but I feel like there's something different when you're actually having to speak it out, and we can really help you iron out the kinks that you may be having in that area and give you some feedback as well. In Big Interview, you can draft your responses and record yourself, which sometimes, it's hard for us to hear what we sound like, and carrying yourself back, seeing yourself back can really give you some insights. Really the importance of tailoring your answers to the role and company, similar to what Mike explained for the cover letter and resume. And sometimes it's difficult, right? When you're like in the fly and you're nervous, but the more that you're prepared, thinking about what you want to say about this company and having answers prepared really puts you ahead of the game. I know this might seem silly, but practicing in front of the mirror, because sometimes we may have habits that we don't even realize, right? Oh, I didn't realize that I did that when I was talking. So also a good way to observe yourself, I should say. And then definitely practice with friends and family and alumni. Our alumni here are amazing. And a lot of times people were reaching out to them via LinkedIn, finding people in your field in particular that can give you practical feedback specifically in your area as well. So, all right, Mike, let's go to the next slide. And what's great about like, especially I've seen on Muse is great is that they'll have something like, tell me about yourself. And then they'll give an example of what to do and what not to do, and what that actually means, right? So I think the mistake I've seen people make is they might tell their whole life story for like 20 minutes about tell me about yourself. And it's really meant to be a short answer, specifically talking about your educational and professional background as it's related to the job and why you're interested in this role and company. And we thought, well, that's easier said than done. Like, how do you do that? So we kind of thought of like, well, let's give an example today. And we are so fortunate in the Career Center to have amazing career peer educators. You can meet with them and drop-in advising. You can also schedule appointments with them on Handshake as well. And one in particular, Anushka, she was a master's student. She just graduated in December, and she got an amazing internship at NVIDIA, and that turned into a full-time job that she started right after graduation. So we thought, well, she's a success story. So what did she say to this answer? So I'm going to go ahead and read what Anushka said. I'm pursuing my master's in computer engineering here at UC San Diego. Before this, I worked for about 2 years as a CPU DV engineer at Qualcomm, where I mostly worked at the SoC level on CPU systems. I applied to this role because the responsibilities align well with what I'm looking for, and I believe my experience in projects would allow me to contribute really effectively. I'm particularly interested in the opportunity to work on different architecture and at a more unit level focus. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. So I feel like this is such an excellent example of being super tailored to what she studied and how that aligns to the role and why she's interested in this company and the position she's applying to as well. So yay, Anushka. And like I said, take advantage of meeting with them as well. They're really excellent at helping with interviewing and just career search in general. So, Mike, next I'm going to turn it back over to you. More interviewing.
Sounds good. This is great. That is so powerful to see a real life example of someone who succeeded in a lot of ways, and just the example right there helps to understand how that can play out for anyone. And so thanks Marcy for doing that and sharing of this information so importantly. We're going to talk a little bit about the presenting in different types of interviews. So um, phone, in person, virtual. So like, okay, first let's take a look at the phone. The phone is typically for screening, right? So it is a legit interview though. So I think it's important to recognize that you wanted to put your best foot forward even in the screening interviews, because that's you wouldn't get any you won't go get further if you don't do well in the initial one. So it's important. The smile on the phone. What is that, Mike? Well, I had a friend who did some consulting to a company who did a lot of phone calls and relief work and things of this nature. And they were in a place where their voice was all they heard, because they're kind of in a call center. And so what they did is they put mirrors, like Marcy just mentioned, but mirrors in front of the folks and said to smile. And they watched themselves, and the inflection and the difference about the tone and things came out. So think about smiling, and it may help you in your phone conversation. And then the other thing is good reception, sound quality, because if you've only got one bar, that might not be enough. Make sure prior to you're hopefully getting a heads up on where you're going to have this conversation, or excuse me, when, and you can choose where you want to have this, so you have good quality sound and connectivity. In person, you might say, when does the interview start? It's when you walk in the room. I would say no. I would say an interview starts right when you get out of the car if it's in person, and we're going into this business. The people that you meet along the way, every person, they're all part of this organization. And sometimes people who may not even quote unquote interview you may interview you, and they may say, that person was really nice to me. They're very professional, and so and or they might say the opposite. So just treat like people you would anybody, just really kindly. And then a firm handshake, that's still there. And so, consider that something that is part of the business process. Um, Virtual interviews, and this is different here. So check the tech, right? So, we want to make sure that everything's working, and give yourself ample time to figure all those things out and have a backup if you need to. Lighting is another thing to think about, if it's different
Uh,
times of day.
Numerical.
And so, ensure you have good
I was gonna.
lighting, and put a smiley face sticker on the webcam. So one of the things about that means that you're looking at the webcam, and you're kind of making sure that you're not going left and right and to the side if you're having an interview, because you're not looking at those kinds of things for a virtual interview. You're looking at the camera. And then one of the things that's really important is let the roommate or other folks, in your room, home, apartment, whatever, just let them know you're having this experience, this interview, so that you can take all those worries and push them aside. So that if there's a dog or cat, whatever you got, and that time and space is needed to be quiet, that they can't interrupt, that you need that time and space. And then also noise reduction and things like that, and just general for what you have around the area, if you can find a good place for that. Notes on the screen. You can even have notes in a virtual setting on the side of the screen or something like that. You don't want to be like reading the whole time, of course, but like if they're on the side, you kind of use them as a prop or help. That's fine. You can even have other kinds of things that you wouldn't necessarily have in person, right? Because you can have them in front of you to check on. And you want to close other programs to make sure you're not having a lot of notifications. All right, best practices. Dress to impress, arrive on time. So you want to dress to the level that you're hoping to get to, of course, and arriving on time is actually early. So if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're probably going to be late. So turn off the notifications on the phone. This is at virtual and in-person interviews. Everyone with respect and kindness that we talked about. Address the interviewers by their names. So you want to make sure that you respect them and their title and everything, of course, and have a paper and pen ready for notes. So you can do like we talked about at the bottom here, a portfolio or a padfolio that you can take notes on, put paper versions of your resume or references or things that you need. And then have those copies, of course, like put in there enough copies that you might be able to give them to the whole panel or who you're working with. And then nonverbal. How's your nonverbal? Are you giving off cues that are not connected to the group or organization and the people who are interviewing you? Yeah, so make sure you're checking yourself and seeing how positive are you, how connected are you, and those nonverbals can be very, very strong. All right, star. So you've probably heard of star, and if you haven't, we're covered right now. But there's a lot of different types of interviews. So this is a behavioral interview question format, and there's a lot of different. There's interviews that are scenario interviews, and there's behavioral interviews. So there's future interviews. There's tell me about yourself interviews. There's all just you name it. There's the technical interviews and whatever. There's interviews out there. So this is just one. This is one, and we bring this up because it's very common in a lot of different areas to cover the behavioral type question. And the idea behind this is that the past behavior that you have is the best indicator of your future. So that's why they would ask you to have these what's called behavioral or situational interviews. And the way to answer that is simply thinking about STAR: situation, task, action, and result. So you start out with the situation, the details of the specific event. You talk about your responsibility of that situation, what you did, one of the most important things, what you did. I mean, you can mention other people, but oftentimes, I mean, this is your time to shine, and it's okay to talk about what you accomplished here in a positive way. And then results. Now, some people even put a little L on that and say what they learned, star all, but we're just talking about star. If you can think of the star, you already have all the experiences you have when you walk in the door. It's about picking out the right one. So if you think about STAR, it's the format that you're going to articulate to showcase how you did that experience. It could be something like, tell me about a time that you used leadership to solve a problem. Tell me about a time that you addressed a customer service issue. Tell me about a time that and then you already know, oh, this is a behavioral type question I'm setting up. Some people use behavioral type questions a lot, and some don't, but many do, and that's why we bring it up. And it's important to recognize that you can practice these things a little bit at home. You can use STAR and then write some examples of different scenarios and do some searching of questions. So that's why we bring it up, and it's very, very powerful, I think. Sending a thank you letter via email or regular mail. You definitely want to get emails of the interviewers beforehand. So if you see their emails are included in the calendar invite, that's great. If you do research and find the emails, that's fine too. If you ask for the individual who's coordinating the interview and they gave it to you, that's fine. If not, ask them at the end of the interview. You need to have these. This is really critical to get their information so you can thank them. And it can be either an email or mail note. I would say, especially in a situation where it's a quick decision, you want to consider maybe using an email at minimum, because that's going to get delivered, and you know that it's going through. And it doesn't. If it bounces back, it's bounced back. So it's something to think about, and it's totally fine to use email. If you want to do a mailed one, that's fine too. But especially in situations where you have a situation that's very quick. Some people, that's all they use. They use email, so it is fine to do. Um, and there's the thing, Mike. When do you send this? I was actually asked this today. So it's within 24 hours. It is a prompt response here that you have for the interviewers to thank them, and it is something that not everybody does. Believe it or not everybody does the thank you note, and it makes a difference. Um, and you can actually prepare these things ahead of time, right? You can prepare some things that you want to comment on, how you might do it, the rough draft, but you don't want to do like a blast out to everybody and just copy everybody. And it needs to be personal. So that's the thing. We're hearing this over and over, personal, right? Tailor all this stuff and customize. All right, so I'm going to take it over to Marcy now to cover the Career Center support.
Thank you so much, Mike. Wow, we fit a lot into this presentation, and I know it's a lot to take in. So we are here to support you. Like all of you may need help with all different areas. And so, Mike, do you want to go over to the Career Center slide? Yes, I'm not going to talk about every single thing on the slide here, but I definitely wanted to highlight advising. Like I said, there's different topics that you can pick for support in there. I also am going to drop in the chat here that this is our events page on our website. Many of you may be aware that we have a whole series of capping gown and career series going on right now, and that's listed on our events as well. And also, we do also have a career series that covers a lot of different areas as well. So make sure that you take advantage of as many of those as you can. We do also have a YouTube channel that has a lot of recordings. I'll actually go ahead and drop that into a lot of career support for you as well in all different areas. And it's my understanding that the presentation will be put up there. The recording of this will be put up there as well. And so, like I said, there's just so many things here. We have a fair coming up, a career fair coming up in April, and that is also on that events page that I just shared with you as well. So, Mike, did you want to go to the next slide? Great. So again, Handshake is where everything's happening here. And in fact, if you all aren't even checking the feed in the Handshake, we post a lot of information in there as well. But events, and like I said, scheduling appointments, there's so much information in Handshake and even additional ones under resources as well that are listed on this slide, that are all free to UCSD students. Again, take advantage of that big interview. This has been a game changer. Even in my area of interviewing for graduate school interviews, that's even included here in the big interview, and you prepare for those the same way you would a job interview as well. So those are the main things I wanted to highlight here. And we just really wanted to thank all of you for joining us. And we do have time for Q&A. I know Lorena's been working like really hard behind the scenes. But I think there's still some remaining in here. Lorena, do you want some help from Mike and I to answer these?
Yes, I have there's one question, if you don't mind. It says, from Fanette, I think Navarro, if no cover letter is required, but the questions on the application portal cover what we went over in an optional letter, which I don't know what an optional letter is, but you can explain that. Should we just skip the letter? Should we rework it to add a new information? And if no cover letter is required, how much of a benefit is to do one anyways? I can help answer that, but you guys can answer that too.
Mike, I'll give it a shot, and then because I'm hoping that I understand it clearly, but my opinion is if you can do something that's optional, like if there's additional information that you do want to add, I've always heard from people that if they have two candidates in front of them and one person took that extra effort to work on the optional answers, that they really value that. So I mean, that's just my 2 cents, and I'm hoping, like I said, I understood the question. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that especially in a situation where you really, really want the opportunity and there's an opportunity in the application to attach something like a cover letter, then maybe that's it's telling you can do this and go above and beyond. So going above and beyond, making it a personalized letter and doing that could make a difference. Yes. And if it's something where you're concerned that it could make a difference, what it's go for it, right? I mean, consider how the chance that it could help you could be potential more than not putting it at all. So, I don't understand the part about maybe the within the description about that piece of the puzzle, but I agree with Mashi in terms of if you feel compelled to do something and it could help you, go for it. Yeah.
And I did see like there's another part of this question. If no cover letter is required, how much of a benefit is it to do one anyway? And having spoken to a talent acquisition and human resources, that if somebody is also going to go through that effort to really just look at what are the requirements of this job and what is it are the skills and the experience that I bring that match that. It's almost like they feel like you're doing their work for them, that you're taking that job description and matching it to what you have to offer. So my advice would be, if, like Mike said, if the no cover letter is required, but you have the option to upload it, 100% recommend. How about you, Mike?
I would say thumbs up.
All right, Lorena, anything else in here that
There's
we
there's another question. Oh, I kind of wanted to bring something up, and again, I think it was in one of the questions that whenever there's a cover letter, but you're adding information, the same information into boxes. So again, keep in mind that when it comes to like applying for a position, a lot of companies are going to have job application portals. Okay, so that means that it's a program that every company has a job application portal, meaning that where you have to enter your information, even if it's the same exact information on a resume. Programs like Taleo, Oracle, Workday, all of those are portals that where like companies have where you have to still submit that information, even if you're putting them in boxes. It's not the same information as your resume or a cover letter. It's your information of like, what company did you work for? Who was your supervisor? How much did you get paid? So very specific letters, and these are all required by the state. So this is like, these are government documents that every company has to have, that state or government that have to have for any company. So they keep all your information. So that's different from a resume and a cover letter. So hopefully that answers a little bit of that question. I'm assuming that that's what it was, but yes, it is a mandated, it is mandatory to fill out a job application portal, because that's what the company does, provide. There's another question about by having a copy of references, you mean like reference letters or just contact information?
I'll leave that up to you because that was your slide.
I'll take that. So, for example, if you're in an interview and they haven't asked you for references, not letters of recommendation, but a reference, and they ask you for references at the interview, and you have them right there, you could provide a copy with your references right there. Sometimes they'll ask you right after. You supposed to have asked you before in the documents. It might be part of the online process. But what I was just referring to is if you have the documents there that are just an actual paper version of those things, that sometimes helps to make a tactile piece of the puzzle where you're actually seeing that and they have that active on their top of their desk or something like that, as opposed to electronically, or even just to complement what they've already had there. So it's not a lot of recommendation. It's simply a reference and simply adding something to the portfolio that you already have in the Padfolio.
Thanks, Mike. Anything else, Lorena?
Yes, there's a couple more. What difference does sending a thank you email make?
Well, this is my slide. So I think everyone should answer this one if that's okay, because it's really powerful. So, I would say, there's been situations where someone who's maybe equally there's a lot of equal standing for the position, and someone has sent a thank you letter, and someone has done all these great things, and the person hasn't sent a thank you letter. They're not attention to detail. That it can make a difference for a decision, actual for the process itself. So. Um, I've seen those kinds of things, and I know that it may seem not, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's an attention to detail and appreciation, gratitude. It's something that's more. It's about your professional uh, nature and how you would be part of their team too. So it's more than just a thank you. It's really a bigger part than that.
I agree with you, Mike. To me, it shows, like you said, an appreciation for the time that they took. And then, a lot of times just acknowledging maybe people even specifically too. Like Mike, it was such a pleasure to meet you. I really enjoyed that you shared about X, Y, and Z. And this made me even more interested in joining the company. So making it not generic, but really what stood out to you about the people in the interview and what was discussed in the interview, and a place to really reiterate your interests as well. And I would actually say, Mike, I don't know what the statistics are, but I think a lot of people don't do thank you. So the ones that do really stand out.
Right. And then there's another question, or there's another follow-up about the thank you email. For the thank you email after the interview, is it advised to send individual email to each interviewer personally? Or is it better practice to send a general thank you email to all interviewers as a group? Very good question too.
Right, I'll jump on this one here. So I think one of the things that have been the theme for today, I think we've talked about in a lot of the aspects, is a personal touch, is individual attention, is customizing, is tailoring. And so if you can take the time, let's say there are 4 interviewers that you have, for example, or people that you come in contact with. If you can take the time to personalize 4 individual interviewers, and that may make a big difference in your getting the opportunity or the next round or whatever it may be, consider that. Consider that maybe doing that because that may make it's going to make a big difference. And again, personalizing rather than the same message maybe would make a more powerful message too, because like Marcy mentioned, something that you recall about that particular person, think about how that resonates with you, and they really took the time to get to know you and ask those questions and be the professional courtesy to do those kinds of things. So I would put that out to whoever asked it to consider those things when they're going, how they would receive that, and think that it may be more powerful to do it that way. And I would say that would be a recommendation.
I agree, Mike. And the only time I would recommend group is if the only email you have is with the HR or talent acquisition person that organized the interview and you were unable to get the individual emails. But when you send that to HR or your contact, to make sure that you say, I thank you so much for helping organize this interview. And I would really appreciate it if you could share this thank you with X, Y, and Z and personalize like for each of those people that you met with within that one group email.
And then there's one that I think there was a Brian. I asked what part of legislature requires the fill the box info that I mentioned. That is, where can I read about more about the interaction between the state and the company hiring? Very good question. I'll let you guys answer, and I can.
Lorena, you mentioned that,
Yes.
so you might need information
So
on
what
that.
happened? So when it's filling the box, it's the company who has a portal where you have to enter your information as an applicant. So this is a little bit separate than an actual like resume or cover letter. This is just a requirement from the company. Whether like there's I don't know where there's a legislature about this, but every company has a different system. So when you go into a company like just a major corporation, you're going to have to fill out an actual job application that is required by the company. So again, it is a requirement for their company. So it's not like anything that is going to take a little bit of your information. It's going to take some information because they're asking you general questions like, again, like where did you go to school? What employers have you worked with? And it'll ask for specific questions like, how much did you get paid? A little bit description of the company. How long were you at the company? When did you end the employment? Sometimes they'll ask specific questions like, if just what other questions do they ask? Like your skill set too. Do you have any certifications, any other licensing? So it's required by each company. So it's not like, it's not something that I created. It's just something that actually is for each company. So there's portals, and that's where a lot of the ATS does come in, where it's like they're scanning for certain things on your resume or on the information you're putting on the application. So I don't know where, just you can look up like just exactly, are there any tools you can recommend for ATS aligned resume? Perfect. I think that's a really good way of putting it. ATS, there's specific trainings out there, like where there, I know that there's actual companies that actually teach about ATS and how do you know like what companies are going to like what keywords and things like that. We don't have someone here at the Career Center that has the training for ATS, but I know that we've gone through some trainings where, what is it like? What is it like to be able to, like, just what kind of words are they looking for? Before, back in the days, again, I'm gonna into myself. It was like a scannable type of review of your resume, and they had to look for keywords. So anything you see on a job description, like keywords, is what you want to put on your resume. That's what ATS, and now it's, it used to be scannable, but now it's this applicant tracking system. We don't know exactly, like, just, and I don't think anybody does that, like, oh, this is what they're paying attention to. But the more you tailor, or you customize, like Michael's mentioned, the more you, like, you're going to, the more it matches what the skill set they're looking for, or the experience, or the type of candidate that they're actually looking for. So there's many ways of looking at that. I think, again, for all of you, like, just, I would definitely do a resume review. Like, for example, when I ask students to do a resume review with me, I ask them, do you have a job description? Let's look at the job. And then I start, like, really comparing the job description and even the company's, like, mission and vision with your resume, just to see if it aligns. And again, keep in mind that you don't have to have direct experience. Skill set is really important. You've been trained, because of your major. You have a lot of great transferable skills that you can highlight. So there's many ways of looking at your information that's not just going to be always experience. So, what do you guys know what, like, some of the companies for ATS, like, I know there was one, but I don't know of any company that is, like, does the examples for resume ATS, unless Mike or Marcy.
I'll jump in on that. So, one of the things that Lorena mentioned is about the ATS example is it's not like one thing, and so it's pretty standard that we know. Hey, we know these keywords, things that are aligned with the position description. Those things that they're kind of looking for that stuff. We know to put it in there. Not every ATS is the same. There's not one for like the nation, right? There's different ones that are being sought after and used for different companies, different things they're looking for. So these principles are principles to do the best that you can do, and with what we know, and to be prepared so that you do know, some of these things they are generally looking for, and we want to make sure that we're aligning as much as possible so that we get the opportunity to have a person view it, and we get the opportunity for an interview, right? So if you're doing a generic resume and it doesn't align at all, like with the position description you was mentioning, that's not good for a person or for an ATS, right? As well, for someone looking for things, because it doesn't line up at all. It's just a generic resume. So that's kind of what we're talking about. The tailoring piece is to do those kinds of things. So for a lot of other reasons, but yeah, the ATS isn't something where it's just like there's a lot of different types of things that different companies look for within their ATS system, and there's not just one system for the entire country, for example.
There's a great question from Kevin. What are key ATS words for jobs at UCSD, like, for example, in student services? Great question. One of the things that I will say about UCSD positions is that they're very descriptive in their job announcements. And I think there's so many keywords when it comes to student services, everything from working with students in the STEM area, or maybe working with students that are, just it could be like, working with transfer students, working with first generation students. So there's a lot of specific areas that you have to look at, but the job descriptions that UCSD does provide, like, they're pretty like specific, which is nice. And also the other thing too, Kevin, for you, like, and I'm sorry, like, Marcy, I'm really jumping in here, but one thing that I want to mention is that looking at the specific department, for example, and looking at what they do is also like another indicator to know what to put as far as your, just ATS and keywords. I don't know, Mike, Marcy, you want to help too?
That's Marina, I just wanted to also mention that someone asked about the difference between a job resume and a PhD resume, and if any of you need it, we do have a student resource folder, and I did drop the CV example. So CV is more tailored to positions with research and with PhD type roles. And then we also have career guides. One of them was what Mike was referring to in the presentation. I dropped the resume template in the chat in the answer to that question if anybody wants that as well. So I wanted to just shout that out just for anybody else. Did we cover everything, Lorena?
I believe we did.
All right.
Unless there was any other questions, I know I answered a couple of questions. If it was not clear, let us know. But also the other thing too that's really important about all of this is that you're always welcome to come in to do like a resume review or go over like the job application material, all of those things. When applying for a job online, does the name of the resume file matter? Mine does the name of the resume. When applying for a job online, does the name of the resume file matter? I'm not sure that's a clear.
I'm not sure I can answer that 100%, but I know typically, a standard kind of email, when you're sending it over with the actual file or online or something, it's kind of like your name and your first and last name or something very simple, as opposed to something that's difficult for a recruiter to kind of like find out what what that is. That's just kind of one of the standard things that many people do, as creating a file. So I'm not sure, if it matters in terms of uploading the file, but in terms of maybe reading the file. So that's kind of what is a pretty standard procedure for most people to do, first name, last name, first name, and put that in a PDF file or something of that nature.
I just wanted to answer is it Kevin's question here, and then we probably need to end. And I unfortunately, Sophia, I don't know if about sharing the slideshow, so I'll see if Mike or Lorena have that. But I would say that the people that I've seen successful in the job search, and Mike and Lorena, you probably can chime in here too, is really leveraging alumni network and having connections. I mean, it just never seems to change that really like 80% of opportunities come through connections. And I feel that alumni always want to help. And it doesn't have to be alumni. People have also gotten opportunities that came through networking at events that they're interested in or helping out at events. But connections are really, I feel like, key. So, Mike and Lorena, did you want to add anything to that before we close out?
Real quick, I'll say that, as was mentioned, there are a number of other presentations that are going on for the cap and gown, for the series that happens during the quarter. And there are a lot of these things that are covered. There's multiple different kinds of things. This is just one of the presentations. So like, LinkedIn and networking and, job search strategies in terms of like in different ways are covered in different. And so I think I would encourage you to meet with us. I would encourage you to go to these presentations, to meet, to do the in-person kinds of things, go to events, be engaged and be involved in your organizations and all these kinds of things. So I think those are things that really help people to get to the next level, as opposed to just applying over and over and over online. I think, there's many parts of the whole piece, that make a whole, for an applicant process. And I think that takes some time. It takes time and effort, and a lot of folks, you're going through the process like, this is a lot of stuff. But I think that it's important to recognize that there are a lot of other avenues to explore as well.
And one last point is job searching is kind of a full-time job. You will receive a lot of no's, but you also receive potentials. Again, like the resume does not give you the job. The resume gets you the interview. The interview gets you the job. So that's kind of the process. But I also think that, again, I do think that the more you invest in this, the more success you're going to have. You will see a lot of no's. You will see but you'll also learn from, what to do in the next opportunity, or how to improve your interviewing. There's so many ways, but do work with us. We encourage you, like the more you can work with us, the more you can be able to prepare for all these things as you're navigating the job market.
Great. Thank you so much. I know there was another question, and unfortunately we're out of time. But like Lorena said, like we're here to help you, support you with your job search. So if there's anything that you feel, and sometimes, it's more tailored questions that you really need one-on-one support to help you specifically with what you need help with too. So, but we really want to thank you so much for being here. And like I said, we're here to support you. And Mike and Lorena, any final words?
Just thank you for coming out tonight, for taking your time to explore, to discover, to learn, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you, everybody.